What about the housing industry? Something we need to talk about, John. A new report pointing to slow gains in the housing market. The Standard & Poor's Case Shiller 20-city index found 13 cities posted lower annual rates in February. Experts say the report falls in line with expectations. The decline in prices reflect weaker sales in the winter, and economists forecast that price gains will keep dropping this year. David Blitzer, chairman of the index committee at S&P Dow Jones, said, quote, "The annual rates cooled the most we've seen in some time." Joining us now about making a house a home, or at least buying a house, the CEO of HomeUnion, Don Ganguly. Don, we welcome you back to the forum.
Glad to be here.
Now, Don, some analysts say a slower climb in home prices is positive in the long run. Where do you weigh in on that concept?
Well, it is positive in the sense that, it makes it more affordable for buyers to buy homes. But, in this case, the smaller rise or the rise that we see here is really fueled by a lot of lack of activity, right? I mean, we're not seeing enough first-time buyers. If you look at the new home sales, they're way down month over month. It's, I think, down to like 360 or some thousand instead of 450. The existing home sales are down as well, right? So they're down to about 450 or 460,000, about 4.6 million. So overall, I think you've got to look at the overall picture and say, distressed inventory is down, so we're seeing less cheaper houses. I think that's down by some 14% or so. You're looking at all those numbers, and I think people are trying to figure out what it means, but it certainly means a certain slowdown. It does mean that we've got tighter inventory, and some of what we're seeing is obviously the winter weather. So, which is why, the pending home sales actually creeped up a little bit, because a lot of people that didn't go around the winter trying to find homes are being able to, go about, except obviously in the tough hit tornado states again. So.
Now, Don, as we drill down on this, and obviously we tend to be focused on consumers and who might be buying a home, but what about businesses that have a large stake in the housing sector, the home builders, the different contractors? What does this report mean to them?
Well, it's not good. I mean, if you look at the overall housing, between the construction and the jobs around it, it's about 18% of the GDP, give or take, and a lot of that is construction work. And if you look at the home builder or index, the Dow Jones index, I mean, it was somewhere around 553 last April or May, around there, and it's down at about 470. So home builder stocks are not in great shape. You find companies like Beazer that are refinancing debt rather than doing it from operations. There's been large cancellation rates last year. So there are some headwinds in that whole area. And if new construction, I mean, remember those numbers were a couple of million a year back in the boom time. And now we're talking of a number of 360, 370,000. So big impact on jobs. And I think the consensus is I don't think that housing is going to be a drag, but I don't think that housing is going to bail out the economy as well right now.
Don, a little less than a minute and a half. Let's say Don Ganguly was in charge. You could outline 3 things in terms of improving the home buying situation in the US of A. In a minute's time, what would Don Ganguly suggest or do if the housing market were up to you?
Well, one is the overall mortgage qualification. I think already lenders are accepting lower down payments, looking at slightly lower FICO scores. I think that might help, because there's a lot of people that have been hammered by the previous recession that might be decent homeowners. The other way, which is obviously boosting up the industry in a big way, is help investors. A lot of investors have been buying homes, and there's a lot of the REITs, single-family REITs, have been buying homes. A lot of retail investors have been buying homes, and this number is, actually transplanted the first-time buyer. So I think incentives for investors to buy.
Interesting thought, incentive for investors to buy. Don Ganguly, we always welcome your input on the housing market. We look forward to visiting with the CEO of HomeUnion again in the not-too-distant future.
So maybe some green shoots with the housing industry as well.
It'd be interesting to see. There's more ahead, specifically the NBA decision next.